Hey everyone, welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today we're joined by an actress, entrepreneur, and creator. You've seen her in hit shows like Tell Me Lies, Chicago PD, CSI Vegas, 911, and The Good Doctor. Now she's stepping into her biggest role yet on CBS's CIA. She's also the creator and host of Ground Up with Natalee, where she helps aspiring actors navigate the business side of Hollywood, and the founder of The Lead, an acting masterclass built to give actors the real tools they need to succeed. Please welcome Natalee Linez. I absolutely loved Tell Me Lies. And I remember when the first season came out, I saw a TikTok of you and your girlfriends watching the show. And like you came on screen and everyone got so excited. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's like one of my friends. Like it was so cute to see. And I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
Oh my gosh. I remember that TikTok. Yes. That was I feel like I just unpinned it. Like that is my longest pinned TikTok that I've had.
No way.
Yeah, that was so fun. I hid that moment from my friends. Like I remember not telling them. I was like, ooh, I want to have a little party at the end, because even when I read that in the script, I was jaw dropped. So I was like, oh, this is going to be
I know. I cannot wait to get into that. But well, to start at the very beginning of your story, you were actually featured on Orange Coast's May issue. You were on the cover. And we have an incredible interview with you where you talked about growing up in Orange County and that you knew you wanted to act when you were just 6 years old. So what do you think sparked that dream for you?
I know. It's such a young age. I look back and I'm like, I don't even have memories from being, 5 or 6 years old. So when I looked back at I think I had schoolwork or something, and I had written down that I wanted to be an actor. And I remember reflecting on it when I was older, and I was like, that is really young to know what you want to do. So I feel like I don't know what sparked it at 6. I think that it is truly one of those things that was inside me from very young that I just knew I wanted to do, which is funny because I did not come out of the womb talented at acting. I had to work I went to so many acting classes. I was so terrible. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I went on 300 auditions before booking my first role. So it wasn't this thing that I was just prolific at by any means, but for some reason I knew really young that it was what I wanted to do. But then of course, you go in and out of phases that young. Oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. So I think what really sparked it was as I got a little bit older, 10, 11, 12, and then watching Disney Channel, watching Wizards of Waverly Place, and then being like, oh my God, yeah, that's that thing I want to do. I really want to be on one of these shows and, do what it was probably Selena Gomez at the time that I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then it never stopped because people have things that they want to do when they're younger. And then for some reason, life gets in the way or something else inspires them. They take a course in high school or college and they go a different route, but it just truly stayed with me for forever.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that thing about the 300 auditions, because I feel like from my perspective, watching Hannah Montana, Selena Gomez on these shows, I remember seeing their audition tapes and being like, oh, they're immediately off the jump. They're great. And they got booked in their star. So I appreciate you saying how much work it took for you to get to this point. But I also loved in the article that you talked about, you wrote Jim Carrey a letter in first grade. So what was it about him that inspired you?
I don't know if it was him that inspired me specifically, but my dad and sister loved watching Ace Ventura, The Mask. What else did we watch that? I think my dad was just a huge Jim Carrey fan. And so I would watch all those movies with him really young. And so maybe when, I remember the assignment in first grade was write to someone that you want, that inspires you. And everyone was writing to the president, or I remember a student wrote to Mother Teresa, and I was like, who is that? How do you know who that is? I don't know. And I wrote to Jim Carrey. So I feel like it was just maybe someone that came top of mind of that I saw as this super successful actor. I mean, I wonder if The Grinch was even out. I don't think it wasn't that era. It was way long ago, that I was watching his movies. Even Dumb and Dumber totally had that on repeat, when we were younger.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Same. That's so cute. Okay. Well, you graduated from San Juan Hills High School early and attended Saddleback College, where you took your first screen acting class. So what did that class unlock for you?
So much. That was my very first time seeing what a screen acting class looks like. So for people who don't understand, there's like theater, of course, you hear. And so when you are in high school, the only thing offered to you is theater class, which is,
Right.
reading a play, memorizing it, and rehearsing it every day on stage, and then performing it on stage for a big audience. And screen acting is television and film, which is completely different. You're so much more intimate with the camera. You are doing the take 25 times per scene just to get the shot. And, you don't have to shout really loud, so the back of the audience has to hear you. It's a really different medium of acting. And again, for some reason, when I was younger, I would sign up for these theater classes, and I just really knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do. I would kind of sign up for the elective and walk in and be like, I don't like this. Like, I actually want to pick a new elective. That's how much I don't like this. So I never did theater. I love watching theater, and I have a lot of respect for theater actors. It's actually, from my perspective, seems like a lot harder acting wise than what I do. But maybe that's just because I love what I do, and it comes now at this point, it's just more natural to me. When you threw me on a stage, I would be like a fish out of water. So I think that there were no screen acting classes available until I graduated from high school a year early. And because I knew I wanted to pursue acting. And so I knew that high school is definitely like a personal choice, but I just like was over high school and took the GED. And then, but I still had to live in Orange County because I, needed to save up money to like move out on my own. So I was like, well, I really do enjoy school. Why don't I sign up for Saddleback? And Saddleback had a bunch of really accessible financial aid programs. And so I signed up for that. And so it was like completely free. And I was like, yeah, like I want to do this during the day at least, because I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings at the Kaleidoscope at night. And so I was at Saddleback, and then I was like, okay, well, let's see what acting options they have here. Like, still really interested in this acting thing. And then they did have an acting class, and I was like, perfect, I'll sign up for that. And it was called screen acting, I think, but I didn't know that the term screen acting versus like theater. So I was like, whatever, this is acting, like I'll take it. And it was exactly what I had been looking for. So we worked on scenes from movies, we memorized the scripts, and then we would do it with a scene partner. And Maria Mayanzette, who is still there and still has this class available. And I speak to her class once a year, actually. She has me back every year. But we worked with the director class, which was another class that's offered at Saddleback. And they would direct us. So it was like this real version of what it was going to look like once I got on a real set. So I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And it was nice because I was like, oh, this is a thing then, right? Because before it was like this mystery.
Okay, this may be a dumb question, but okay, when I was in middle school, I took an acting class, and I remember as a nervous, anxious, what a preteen, being so nervous to like let yourself go and do some of the like exercises that they had you do. Like I've seen different movies or whatever when they have you do exercises, and it feels like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Like I don't want to do this in front of people. Did you have that at all, or like how do you commit in those classes?
Totally had that, of course. And I struggled with this idea of like perfection, right? Like, okay, I'm going to do the scene perfectly, like, which is like the opposite of acting. For acting, you want to just take your interpretation of the character of the role and then let go and then, mess up. Like in most of my acting classes here in LA, it's like the slogan is like, dare to suck, like make those weird choices that might feel awkward. But that's the only way that you can find beautiful moments. And that's why actors who are very successful, you notice that they just take risks. They don't care if they try something, if it ends up quote unquote failing. Because, right? If you're doing a scene and you're, there's a line and you're like, ah, dang, I really want to try it this one way, but I know if I do it this other way, it'll be super safe. That other way is still going to work. Like the other way that you read this line is still going to be great and you delivered it. But this other way might have been like this truly beautiful moment where the viewer would be like, whoa, that was so fun that they took me on that journey. And you never would have done that because you're scared of what people think. So that part was so hard for me, and it still is, to like let go and truly be, let your like natural instincts take place, I guess. But no, it's so weird. Like for, especially someone who just like a random person, like signing up for an acting class, I think that'd be such a great like exercise for anyone to do because it's so uncomfortable. But once you get on the other side of that uncomfortability, especially everyone in the class is doing it, everyone's putting on scenes, it becomes more of like the norm. But I'm sure it was like so awkward, and I can see how you felt like, oh my God, I have to do this like weird exercise. And acting classes can be super cringy and weird too. Like some of them I don't condone. Like, you know, they're like, all right, make animal noises and walk around the room. Like that's real.
No, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw you talking about like committing. Like I saw an interview with Margot Robbie talking about how she watches this audition tape from Rachel McAdams for The Notebook, I think. And Rachel just like completely like commits to doing this audition. And she was like, that's so inspiring to me seeing that. So I completely understand like what you're saying, just like committing to it, not letting the fear of what other people may think prevent you from.
Yeah. And it might not work. You know, Margot Robbie herself, actually, when she auditioned for Wolf of Wall Street, she went in and they did the scene multiple times, her and Leonardo. And it was the last take. I think they were in there working it a bunch, and it was the last time they were doing it. And they're doing the scene, and she had this inkling to slap him in the face. And she did. She slapped him in the audition, and Leonardo and the director just started busting out laughing after, and they gave her the job right there. So obviously that could have backfired totally. They're like, you can't touch me in this. This is an audition. You know? So it really is a lot of like risk taking and making in auditions. You need to stand out a little bit. It doesn't mean to do something that makes no sense with the character or with the scene, but casting directors are looking for some inkling that makes you special or your audition special compared to the other hundreds that they're watching.
Right. Okay. Well, you moved to LA at just 20 years old with $3,000. So what do you remember about that season of your life?
I mean, looking back, like those are the good old days, but during it, I mean, yeah, you know, there was never a dull moment. There was never a day where I woke up and I didn't have something to do because there's so much to pursue, right? Like you're not only pursuing your own daily needs of like, okay, how do I make money to survive this week? But when you have something you're passionate about, you're also like, how can I make this other thing happen? So I think looking back on those times, it was just a lot of learning and figuring things out and independence. Like, luckily, I'm such an independent person, but I think part of it is the fact that I was just kind of thrown into it. Like, my mom and I lived in Orange County together, and when I was 20, she was also moving out of the house that we lived in to go live with a family member. And I was like, I'm not doing that, you know? So it really puts you with an option of like, do I want to figure it out and make it work, live on my own and pursue this dream? Or do I stay in Orange County? Do I live with my mom and my aunt for the next few years? And I could have, but I really wanted to get out there and learn and start failing. And I think one of the beautiful things that those early days taught me when I was working so hard, and even when I worked at Albertsons when I was 16, is it taught me a lot about money. And I think it's a weird thing that I either naturally am drawn to or not, but I have an affinity for learning about finances. And I think that comes from just working since I was 16. And, you know, I think I made $7.30 an hour at Albertsons. So when you go from that and serving at restaurants and slowly but surely making your way up, you learn the value of a dollar and you learn how to organize your money. And how much to put towards food and rent and all of these things that, young adults have to do no matter who you are. And I think that has built such a great foundation for me financially for when I did start booking these bigger roles to really learn how to just be conscious about money.
Yeah. God, that's so nice that you learned that early on. I'm like currently learning that. So that's really a great skill to have.
I'm so
yeah. Well, we talked a bit about you going on 300 auditions before your first TV role on Siren. So how did you protect your confidence during that time? Because I would imagine 300 no's is really hard to take.
It was so hard. I remember calling my agent right before I booked Siren and crying to her. And I never did that often. She was like, hello? Are you, what's going on? Like, because she heard my voice cracking and she's like, where are you? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I'm on 280. Like what is going on? I think there's a few things to pursue a career like this or any career, like whether you're an entrepreneur trying to build a business or even you're going to nursing school. It has to take passion for the thing that you're going for. And you have to have passion for the process, at least a little bit, because the process thing is, in my experience, someone who has worked from the ground up, it's been 90% of my career is the process, is the auditioning, the callbacks, the not booking it, the not hearing back. Because the other thing about acting is you're not just hearing no's, you're just not hearing anything. So it's not even like you audition for it and then they reach back out. Thank you so much. She didn't get it. It's just radio silence. And you learn as an actor, you audition for something and you put it into the abyss. And again, after doing it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times, you're like, oh, okay, here's the process. I auditioned for something. Then I let it go. And I hope to hear something back, to get a call back or whatever. But I think for me, the confidence came with so many failures. And then over time, like where I'm at right now, which is like probably essentially, peak confidence, I guess, in my career is that experience. So you go through the failures and then you get a little bit of experience and it builds that confidence. And then you get a bunch more failures and your confidence goes down a little and then it goes back up because you booked that other thing. So it's just like slowly but surely gaining confidence and realizing that it's a process. And it's like, don't underestimate how much confidence you can have in a decade versus what you can have in a year. Because people are like, well, I just want to be so sure of myself right now or in 6 months. And it's like, how about in 5 years? Because it'll go by fast and you'll get there, but you have to have grace with yourself now or else you're just going to be pulled back and continue to spiral. So have grace during those moments where you're in the ground up phase. And by the way, we're always in the ground up phase. Like I'm not at some sort of peak state. Like you're always growing and hoping to, because then you always want more, right? The next role.
Right.
Then, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to then sell your business or whatever that is.
God, this is like really great advice and great insight for just any aspect of life too. Just like giving yourself grace and letting things come as they do. Well, speaking of when you booked that show, you spent time filming in Vancouver and you leaned into mindfulness, journaling, and your magic framework, which stands for meditation, affirmations, gratitude, intentions, and coffee. So how did that routine change the way that you approached your life and your career?
Well, when I got to Vancouver when I was 23 and I started filming Siren, which was my first role, I was back and forth from Vancouver and LA. So how it works when you recur on a show is that you'll fly back and forth from those locations versus right now I'm a series regular on CIA. So I live in New York for the role. Series regular, you live there. Recurring, you fly out. Guest star, you fly out. Unless it shoots in your location, then you just drive there. But so I was flying back and forth to Vancouver and spending over the course of 8 months, I probably went on 20 flights, like back and forth, back and forth. And I was spending so much time alone. It became pretty lonely, right? I'm not in LA. I'm not going to my acting classes. I'm no longer working at a restaurant. All these beautiful things that I wanted. And I loved it. I'm a very independent person. I really loved it. But you can't deny the fact that I was alone for weeks and weeks in this hotel in Vancouver. And sometimes you'll be there 2 weeks and you'll work 2 days. And the rest of the time you're alone and you don't know anyone because you're just meeting your castmates, right, on set. And they're all friends and they're leads of the show. So you're not like calling them the next day to hang out, right? So
Yeah.
I had all this time alone for those 8 months. And to give a little backstory too, when you're recurring on a show, you're always trying to audition for a series regular. So as I was there, I'm auditioning the whole time via self-tape to try to book a series regular on a different show in a way. So I'm getting so many no's. I'm auditioning while filming this other thing, which is awesome. But again, you're just always kind of auditioning and throughout your entire career until you get like the lead of a movie or the lead of a show. So I'm getting this rejection and I'm alone. And I'm like, I started really getting into like self-help books and podcasts and listening to literally everyone from Oprah to Jay Shetty to Kobe Bryant interviews, like random, those. Did you ever go through that phase? Where you just
100%. Jay Shetty. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. The Rachel Hollis, like Jay Shetty phase. And so I just really felt inspired by everything they were saying and this idea of mindfulness and how it could really settle your thoughts and, how scientifically gratitude can provide you with such a full life and all of these things. So I just got really inspired by it. And after listening to all of these interviews of entrepreneurs and leaders, actors, a lot of people that I was inspired by had one thing in common, which was a morning routine. And so like, wow, this is fascinating. Like all of these really, whether it was a monk or a Fortune 500 person or an athlete, like it all came back to they had these morning routines. And I was like, I want to do that. Like I want, the success that they have. Maybe a morning routine will help me through it. And Oprah was really big on it. So I was reading up on all of these and everyone had their own little morning thing, whether it was like reading a spiritual text or jumping in a cold plunge. And I was like, okay, well, neither of those are kind of my vibe. So I was like, I enjoy meditating. I really felt inspired by affirmations after reading You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, which is a really great book. And then the science behind gratitude and intention setting. So that's where magic came from. Is M stands for meditation, A stands for affirmations, G stands for gratitude, I stands for intentions, and C, I was like, what do I do with the C? And so I just thought of coffee. Which
that's so cute.
I love coffee every morning. And so I was like, okay, perfect, magic. And so I turned into this morning routine and then the pandemic hit. And so it was like people really started latching on when I started sharing about it. And so I started the Magic Mornings method and it helped a lot of people throughout that time. And I ended up creating like a tangible journal for it and a business. And
how cool.
I had so much fun with it. I really enjoyed the, direct to consumer. Like I would ship everything and write little handwritten notes in everyone's package. And it was so much fun. I don't sell the journal anymore just because I travel too much for work. So I'm not, it's like such a hands-on, business. I was physically shipping them out. But yeah, I think that it helped me get through so much because number one, doing the magic method every single morning, I have 10 journals, they're 90 pages each, filled to the brim with, so every morning you write your affirmations, your gratitude, and your intentions. And, the intentions are the driving force behind your goals and dreams. And And to write that out every single morning, not only did it manifest, what, if people don't like that word manifest, like, yes, it's manifesting it, but also it's the goal setting aspect where it's like, you could think it all you want, but you have it written down now. And it's kind of like this mental subconscious to-do list. And then you go out and do those things. But I like the idea of not only doing it physically, but writing it out as well. And I feel like the combination of that is like a recipe for like some serious success.
I totally agree. I want to start doing this daily now because I do it once a year, like on New Year's Eve, like write down everything that I hope will come true. And every single time I come back to it, pretty much everything on the list like ended up happening. So there's there's something to be said about writing it down. It's crazy.
Yeah. The amount of times I've written down, like I will be, the lead on a show, it will have a great cast, it'll be a great network, like just very specific things. The amount of times I've written it down is out of this world. And like, I don't know if it was that or if it was just 10 years of auditioning, but
Definitely. Okay. Well, you also created the podcast Ground Up with Natalee and your acting course, The Lead. So can you share what listeners can expect from each and why it was important for you to become that resource for other actors?
I saw such a missing piece in like the acting industry. There's acting teachers, which teach you how to act, right? Teach you how to emote, how to find your why within the scene, character work, script analysis. But there was no one teaching the business side of acting. In fact, the people that I did find teaching the business side of acting, they had never acted before or pursued a career in acting. And so it felt very fraudulent. And I was like, wow, a real missing space where younger actors can, or not younger actors, but the other thing is people were teaching it who were like, if you listen to a podcast with like Nicole Kidman, it's like, I can't relate to you. I can learn fun things from you and hear your audition stories. I don't think that they didn't work hard at all. But in 2026, it looks a lot different to pursue a career in acting from the ground up than it did in 2019, but than it did in 2006 or 2012. It looks so much different. So there was just this like chunk of information missing. And I had been literally experiencing like every step of how to become a working actor in TV and film from when I started pursuing it in 2015 to now. So I was like, ooh, there's just this empty space where someone like me, who's a working actor, but also knee deep in the trenches, like with the actors, can really have some valuable insights on how to pursue this career and become successful. And so I planted the seed to create a masterclass like probably 6 years ago, but I never had all the tools that I needed to like really create it. So it was last year before I booked CIA actually that I filmed and created the Lead Actors course, which is a top to bottom course on how to become a working actor in television and film. And it's all about the business side of acting. So there's only one scene where I talk about self-tapes and I give some pointers on how to act in self-tapes, but the rest is how to get an agent and a manager, pitch emails, headshots, reels. And it's every step. So if you're just starting out, how to get a reel, if you are been pursuing this for 10 years, what your reel should look like. And then it even goes into, I think the longest episode of The Lead, it's 8 episodes. The longest one is about money and how to stay financially organized, how much money you have to make to qualify for SAG health insurance, pension, what all of that looks like. And then there's one of the longest episodes too is about life outside of acting and how I believe that it's so important to have a full life outside of acting and how I believe that's one of the only ways to book. So then you're not just desperate for like a role or something like that. So my podcast Ground Up is just a free resource for actors where I interview actors, casting directors, agents, managers on their ground up stories and how they got to where they are. I think what differentiates my podcast from others is you have these two extremes. One is the podcast may be called Smartless with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett, where they interview massive, massive, massive actors. Still super fun to hear their stories. And a lot of them have ground up stories where they truly came from nothing and built, but again, a lot of them are much older. So they're talking about their story from being discovered in a coffee shop when they were 16. And it's like, that does not exist anymore because we're in an oversaturation of, social media and everyone wants to be an actor and all this. So between that and then this other side of it where people are having podcasts about acting who have never pursued a career in acting. So Ground Up with Natalee, my podcast is really that middle where it's like, I only have successful working actors on, but they're the modern day actor versus back then. And then it just ties into the lead, which is my masterclass.
God, I love that. That is such an incredible resource for people. I can't even imagine how grateful people must feel to have access to this.
I do get a lot of messages. It's really nice. Yeah. Just how amazing either they're students of the lead, like they've signed up, or they just listen to the podcast, either one. And it's like the only thing that keeps me going. I don't like the podcast. I don't monetize from it. I don't have ads on it or anything like that. So it's really just something that I enjoy doing. So it's nice to hear that people find a lot of value from it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I mentioned, I am a huge fan of Tell Me Lies. What were some of your favorite behind the scenes moments from the show?
Oh my gosh. Well, the cast is so fun. In real life, everyone is truly so grounded, so down to earth. So I think just spending time together in the green room in between scenes, just playing games, shooting the shit. A really fun game we played, forget what it's called, but you sit in a big circle and someone names a movie or an actor, and then the person next to you has to say, so if you name an actor, if I name of course I can't think of any movie in the entire world. I name Liam Neeson, the person next to me has to say Taken, or a movie that he's been in or something. And then the person next to them have to say, if they say Taken, they have to say another actor in that film. And then so then it goes all the way around. And then, so just fun games like that. That's such an actory game to play too. But other than that, just fun, we filmed in Atlanta for season 1. And so just exploring, we would go out, to eat over there. And we were all just kind of in this little random town. And so just, hanging out with everyone, I think was the best part.
I love to hear that. Okay, well, spoiler warning if listeners haven't finished the show, but in Tell Me Lies, Lydia ends up engaged to Steven after everything that has happened between him and Lucy. So how did you approach Lydia's decision in that moment? And what do you think was driving her perspective?
Such a funny story on that scene. So we actually shot that scene in episode 1. So we block shot that. What that means is that the whole scene was already set up for the engagement party. So we shot all the engagement party scenes in a 3-day period versus shooting it 4 months later when we got to episode 8 or 10, how many were in season 1. So we were shooting episode 1 and I had the script obviously for episode 1. And then they were like, hey, we're shooting a scene tomorrow from episode 10. We're going to send you the scene right now. And I was like, okay, great. Can I get the script for episode 10? And they're like, no, we don't even have the script available. Cause you usually get, your episodes as an actor, episode by episode, you get the scripts. They might tell you an overarching story. And in some shows, a limited series, they will give you all the scripts, but in a lot of cases, you're just getting the script per episode. So I only had episode 1 and they were like, okay, here's the scene that we're shooting tomorrow for episode 10. I was like, great. It was half a page of a scene. So I start reading it. I'm just like, okay, what do I have to memorize for tomorrow's scene? I was like, I hope it's not a lot. I'm just getting this, the night before. So I'm reading it. And sure enough, he's like, it's 10 years later, blah, 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 or 8 years later. and his fiance walks out, and then it said that. And I literally was like jaw on the floor, like same reaction you had watching it was me reading the script. So I didn't have much time to think of a backstory. And so I called my manager and I was like, hey, can you put me in touch with one of because it's episode 1, season 1. So we're not all well acquainted yet. I haven't even been on set yet or met anyone. So it's like, can you put me in touch with someone from the show, a writer who can explain this to me? And so they did. And they were like, we don't have any information for you. They were like, they met somehow, and clearly there was a falling out with Lucy and Lydia. And I was like, okay. So I just created, a backstory in my head that they just must have had I'm sure I wrote like an analysis out on a piece of paper of a specific falling out that they had and my reasoning for maybe getting with Steven. But I had only read one script of the entire show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just didn't know much about Lydia or Lucy or Steven or dynamics or anything. So I had read the book, which was helpful. But yeah.
Dang. So did the book follow the show pretty closely? So were you able to be like, okay, I kind of get where this is going?
Well, Lydia's hardly in the book at all.
Oh.
Yeah. So in the book, because the book is the show goes way more in depth, right? Because it's 3 seasons. It goes way more in depth. So I think like, I'm like forgetting the book, but it's really just about this man who's like a terrible narcissist. And even I think like Lucy's mom and dad are like completely different. Like the dad is alive. It's like one of the opposites. Like he's either dead in the show, I forget, but he's like the prominent one in the book versus in the show it was like her mom was more in it. So like are just really different, but they just took like the characters, I think. And then Megan, our creator, just ran with it and created this like insane show.
Oh my God. Yeah. The twists and turns that show took were insane.
Yeah. I always had you guessing.
Yes, totally. And I loved your scene at the end of the wedding too. Like the way that whole thing played out was perfect.
Yeah. The ending, I truly love the end of the show in general.
Yeah, it was so good. Okay. Well, you now play Gina in CIA. So can you take me back to getting the call that you booked that?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So that was September of last year. And I was actually celebrating my best friend's birthday, who's been with me from the very beginning we lived together when I was auditioning for everything. And I would have her read audition tapes with me, and she's not an actor. And she just saw me from the very, very beginning. So it was definitely full circle. But I had auditioned for this role via self-tape, and I got like a self-tape callback, which is pretty much them being like, hey, tape it again. Here are some notes from the casting director. Let's tape it again. So put it on tape again. And then there was a director session, which is like director, showrunner, casting director. So there's like 5 people in there. Did the audition then, which was on a Friday, of course, because it's always like drawn out. Like I'm like, it's either a holiday when I'm waiting for the answer to something or something, but it was a Friday and it went really, really well. And I did have a good feeling about it, but I've been, kicked down so many times. I just was like, you really have no clue if it's you or not. So my agent was getting some good feedback after that audition from casting, because they'll keep you in the loop, your agent. And then my agent was like, I was like, don't tell me anything. I just don't want to know. I just want to know if I book it. I don't want to hear this, like, they love you. Cause it's like tale as old as time. And so she was just like, we're very close. So we went and grabbed like a bite that day after my audition. And she was just kind of like, oh, I'm so excited. And I was like, about what? Like nothing's official, And she's just like, I know, but they really like you. Like she started telling me things, and I was like, don't. So then the whole weekend goes by. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, did not hear anything. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm literally going crazy. And like the only people that know this feeling are actors who are close on a role. It is this unexplainable anxiety, excitement, hope. The hope is like through the roof. You're just like hanging on with every ounce that you have, that like maybe you did book it, but you're not sure. And so Tuesday, 5 p.m., and I text my agent and manager in a group text, and I was like, guys, I think I'm kind of gonna lose my shit. Like, I think maybe I need to know like what's going on. And they called me right away. And they were like, sorry, we wanted to wait for like official paperwork because we know that kind of don't like to know yet because your heart's been broken so many times, but you booked it.
Oh
And
my God.
they love you, and it shoots in New York, and it starts in 2 weeks, and you're moving to New York for until next May. And yeah, it was this very surreal moment because I was like, wow, this is that thing that I've been like wishing on every 11/11 and blowing out every candle every year for, and writing down in my magic journal every day for. And so it's like this surreal thing, right? Because you think you're gonna like be like, oh my God, or like break down and cry or something, but you're just like, I was just standing on the sidewalk on Abbot Kinney, like outside of my friend's birthday dinner, and I was just like, wow, it just happened.
Oh my gosh, I love that story so much. That's
Yeah.
wild that 2 weeks later you were out there in New York.
Packed everything, packed like all my bags. My boyfriend and I lived together here in LA. So he stayed here and we did long distance for a while.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. Well, Gina is a very smart, layered character. So, what has been the most fun part of discovering her and playing the different sides of her?
I think the most fun that I've been able to have with Gina is the fact that I get to play her from the kind of the beginning stages of her career. And it'll continue to grow, and she'll continue to get better and better at her job. But it's really fun to play. She would be a rookie, I guess, on the field. She's not a rookie in her field as a CIA analyst. She's very, very good, but it's kind of cool to play her like she's inside the office. She's an analyst, jonesing to get on the field. And then we get to watch her like work hard at the office to try to, or at the skiff to, ask to go on these ops and kind of be denied. And then finally they give her a chance and she goes out there and she's actually really, really good on the field. But she has a lot of learning and growing to still do. So I think it'll be really fun to be able to play those different, that like kind of that ground up story of like Gina and being an incredible CIA analyst, which she'll take all those tools with her as she goes on the field, but into being this incredible chameleon spy out there on ops with Colin. And it'll be fun to see their dynamic and new dynamics to come up in the next season.
Oh my gosh, so exciting. Okay, well, is there anything else that you would like to shout out for listeners to keep an eye out for in 2026? This will air in June.
Okay, great. CIA airs on CBS. Season 2 comes out in September. Season 1 is already all out, all 12 episodes on Paramount Plus. So definitely give that a watch. It's a truly great show. We got picked up for season 2 pretty quick because people loved it so much. So, and then follow me on social media. My name is just my name, which is in the title of this episode, I'm sure. So, stay in touch with me.
Very exciting. Well, I have 3 final questions for you called the Thoughtful 3 before we let you go. So first, we've talked a bit about how passionate you are about helping aspiring actors navigate in the industry. So what advice would you give to someone who's listening, who has dreams of breaking into acting, but has no idea where to start?
No idea where to start. The literal first thing I would say is start binging my podcast. It's completely free. I think people always really want this like instant gratification answer, and there is none. You really have to take a ground up approach. I think people get lost in this idea of knowing someone. Unless your, dad is Scorsese, like it's genuinely, it's really a matter of like getting an agent and a manager, getting auditions and auditioning and booking things that route no one's going to put you in their movie. No one's going to put you in their TV show. So it's starting by getting very curious and learning the ropes. And if you're truly interested in diving in, I think The Lead Actor, my masterclass, which is available at theleadactor.com, has gotten incredible reviews from actors who are just starting out. It just teaches you every single question that you might have popped into your mind is like, I don't think there's any stone left unturned in that masterclass. So I would say listen to the podcast, and then first thing first, sign up for an acting class near you, because even if it's a bad acting class, you're gonna learn that it was a bad acting class and then get to move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? Like you need to start failing yesterday.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, how do you stay inspired and keep your creative spark alive when you hit moments of burnout or self-doubt?
Hands down, when I feel self-doubt, when I feel like I'm feeling dim or dull, I have to go on a walk in nature and listen to a podcast that inspires me.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I get home from a pod walk, I call them, I am brimming with ideas. Like I can't get home quick enough because I'm like, I need a pad and a paper. I need to write ideas down. So I think spending time alone, turning off all technology and getting in touch with yourself. And like the only way that you can get creative ideas from the universe is if you quiet the noise enough to where you can even hear it, or else you're just distracting yourself constantly with notifications. And obviously in 2026, it's like so hard to turn that off. So you really have to consciously, physically remove yourself from those things. I love turning my phone off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Well, lastly, what skills or qualities have been crucial to your success?
I would say my ability to have tunnel vision and not worry what other people are thinking that I'm doing. I'm kind of selfish. I'm like, I don't care what you think, like I'm going to do this for me and for my career and my, family or my future family or whatever. But I had so many family members that, didn't believe in me. I didn't go to college, right? I didn't go to I went to Saddleback for 8 months or a year, I guess. I never graduated, nothing like that. So you're going to have people being like, here's the right way to do it. Here's the route that we went. And it's just, you're going to know what's best for you in your heart of hearts. It doesn't mean that I worked less hard for it. It just means that the route looked a little bit different than the traditional one. And that's okay.
Totally. I love the quote. I think it's like, hear me now, believe me later. And I feel like that's exactly what you did. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like, let me show you.
Right. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It was so great getting to meet you. I am such a huge fan. So this really meant a lot to me.
Yay. Thank you, Chelsea. That was so much fun. I feel like I just blabbed the whole time, but I guess that's what a podcast is for. Yeah.